I'll be working closely with the cohort and the project as it goes forward. And just going to quickly run through a couple of introductions to the team on our side and from Carbon Limiting Technologies, who will actually be delivering the accelerator, before handing over to Neil Kitching, who's going to give us a little bit of the context side from Scottish Enterprise for Clean Heat in Scotland. So I think today we're also joined by Natalie Fredericks and James Rule from Carbon Limiting Technologies. We're the team that will be delivering the accelerator and answering any questions that you've got today and over the next few weeks, as the application window comes to a close on the 31st of May. So we still have a little bit of time for people to ask any questions they need. So great to see so many people on the call today. I'll hand over to Neil now to just give us that background piece. Thanks.
Thank you. Let's just go straight to the next slide, please. Oh, one up. That's it. Jumping around, it should be Clean Heat Solutions, James. I thought, yes, Neil Kitching, working the energy team at Scottish Enterprise, supporting clean heat. And I thought the first thing I should mention is what is clean heat? It's an interesting name. It's a new Scottish Government terminology. We used to call it renewable heat or green heat or low carbon heat. But to some extent, it's all much the same thing. The important thing is, to us, the core of it is heat pumps and heat networks, but also supported by building retrofit and building energy efficiency. But to support these core technologies, there's lots of other technologies that we're happy to support within this programme. So they're mostly listed on this slide. So that includes all the smart controls that are required to optimise heating systems. It includes biomass, solar thermal, the smart meters required to optimise all of this, thermal storage. And on the retrofit side, it's obviously the things like insulation, waste heat recovery, ventilation, triple glazing, all these good things. So quite a wide definition. I think that's the important point. Next, please.
What's that? Checking manuals, see for like the DS units and stuff. Manuals different for Canada, you know.
So somebody that should be on mute or somebody asking a question.
I think they've just muted themselves, Neil. I think
okay. Superb. So the benefits of clean heat should be self-explanatory to most of this audience. The prime reason we're moving towards it is for the climate benefits, but you can see from this slide there's a whole host of environmental, social and economic benefits. I won't go through them all today, but it just shows that this is a complicated environment and a very beneficial environment to be working within. Next, please. So the Scottish Government has issued its Heat and Buildings Bill consultation, and in it there are some fairly radical proposals to accelerate the rollout of clean heat. So the main eye-catching one is that when you buy a home or commercial property, the proposal is that the new owner must install a clean heat system within a specified period after the purchase. So that's really a methodology of driving the change from mainly gas boilers over to clean heat. There's also rules around energy efficiency. Proposal is that private rented landlords should improve the energy efficiency of the buildings by 2028 and all homeowners by 2033. There's also proposals around heat networks. So if you're on a heat network zone, which the council will notify you in due course, then you don't need to install, for example, a heat pump. You can wait until the heat network zone has been, the heat network pipes have been built, and then you'd be given a set period to either join the heat network or do your own clean heat system. So these are really fairly radical proposals. They're still up for consultation, but we think this is what's going to drive the market from it's already growing, but to grow at a much more fast pace. Next slide, please. So this is what's actually happened in terms of market growth. You can see various spikes due to various changes in grants in the past, but the main thing to take away from this is that air source heat pumps, the deployment of them has been accelerating. This graph is actually now out of date for 2023. Over 6,000 were installed, so you can see that that blue line is continuing to rise upwards. So yes, we think there's a great future for heat pumps. And next slide, please. Also, the Scottish Government set targets for heat networks. So the 2030 target is 6 terawatt hours and the new 2035 target of 7 terawatt hours. And then globally, the markets are growing. Just one example there, that's the global market for heat pumps. And you can see there's huge potential export opportunities too. Next, please. So how's this going to come about? Well, every council is preparing a local heat and energy efficiency strategy. This is an extract from the Glasgow one, and they've basically carved up the city into areas they think are suitable for heat networks and some areas where they think heat networks will probably never be built. And this is really an important first step to give householders a bit more certainty as to what's best for their properties. And within Glasgow, they've identified 2 priority zones that they're going to really start the feasibility studies on now. The other zones could still take another decade to roll out, but the first step is to identify this. And every council has prepared maps like this, and it's well worthwhile looking at your local heat and energy strategy to see what the plans are for your area. Next, please. I think this is my final slide. Just to say there's a lot going on. We have Heat Source. And if you're not a member of Heat Source, please join up with them. We have government funds, 1.8 billion over this Parliament. We have potential access to EU funds. Scottish Enterprise is also running a Clean Heat Expert Support Programme. There's loans and cash back from Business Energy Scotland, Home Energy Scotland. There's lots of innovation funds. But my point here is that there's a lot out there. And if you join this programme, you will be able to collaborate and network with your peers. You'll learn a lot about how to grow a business. But the really important thing is you're learning in amongst your peers who all have an interest in this clean heat revolution. So it's a great scheme, and please do ask questions at the end of this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Neil. So some of you may be aware we have run the Accelerator before. And so we're now going to hand over to Stuart from Soltropy, who joined us on the first cohort, and he's going to give us just a couple of minutes of his story going through the Accelerator and his experience. Over to you, Stuart.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. So Stuart Speak, I'm the founder of Soltropy. Bit of background, we have a new type of solar thermal heating system that can overheat and freeze without damage, and our new innovation actually means we can have large systems without any interconnections. But yeah, the Green Heat Accelerator program was good for us because it was our first. So up until then, we'd been selling into specific markets, dairy farming, for hot water. What our product can do, though, with integration with other like heat pumps or gas boilers or other heating systems, we can provide heat, free heat essentially. And the thing with solar thermal, it's 3 times more efficient at doing that than solar PV, but there's been problems with it. So this was our first sort of toe in the water to start looking at not just water heating, but space heating. And it was really good for that. We basically, we were introduced to companies who had requirements for space heating, like social housing, and got to understand a little more about, what they require and the barriers for them, which is really good. But just going back to what Neil said about the collaboration and networking opportunity with the rest of the cohort was brilliant for me. I didn't know anything about heat pumps, or just bare knowledge on it. But from that, I got to know 2 companies doing 2 different technologies in that area. And we've actually went on to collaborate with Andy McCaughey, who's Source Thermal, and he's going to talk later on. So since the actual the program, we went through all the usual accelerator things, and it was great to be reminded of all the things that you need to do as a business, like the market and the personas, who you're selling to, and trying to really understand who is your customer and what do they want. That was useful for me. But since then, we actually applied for not follow-on funding, but other Scottish enterprise funding. And because we understood now a bit more about the area that we're trying to get into, we could make a really good case, and we got follow-on funding from the Can-Do Green Heat, what's it called, feasibility fund, and we collaborated with Source Thermal on that. And since then as well, on the basis of that, on the back of that, we actually got onto the TechX Accelerator in Aberdeen, which came with some really substantial funding for us. So it's been really good from our point of view, really to understand the space heating now, the space heating area, but also the collaboration. And there was installers of heat pumps on the cohort. It was great to get their views on things, and just to understand the market really and where it was all going. I think that's probably about it. Yeah, good to engage with all the others on it, and we certainly learned a lot, certainly for me, around about the marketing, and it gave me enough info to know that I'm not a marketer and I need to get somebody to do it for me. But yeah, that's all I've got. I think that's probably about 5 minutes, I think.
No, that's excellent. No, thank you very much, Stuart. Always good to hear some of the feedback, so thanks for that. And we'll also be joined by Andy from Source Thermal. He'll give us his story in a little bit. But before then, I'm going to hand over to Natalie from Carbon Limiting Technologies, who's just going to give a little bit of an overview of the program. Thanks, Natalie, over to you. You're on mute, I'm afraid.
Yeah, so thanks, Sam, and thanks, Stuart, for giving a bit of information about your experience on the programme. So I'll give you a brief overview of what to expect. But first, just by way of background, CLT, who delivers this programme on behalf of Scottish Enterprise, we're a consultancy that works on commercialisation and scale up of low carbon technologies. And I'm saying this because that's really what we're focused on throughout our accelerator programmes, working closely with SMEs to help them to grow in clean tech, and in this case, in clean heat. Can I have the first slide? Thanks. So in terms of the aims of the programme, we're aiming to grow your businesses to be able to participate in those opportunities that were outlined by Neil, and to meet the Scottish Government's heat and building strategy. We help to build your sector knowledge, also beyond your existing business, to understand opportunities in the wider sector. We aim to expand your network. You heard a bit about that, and you'll hear also from Andy about how the programme provides plenty of opportunities to do this. We aim to build management skills, and also a specific outcome will be to develop your action plan for growth. So this is a practical plan for the months that are following the accelerator. Can I have the next slide, please? So what specifically is involved in the accelerator? There'll be 2 virtual workshops a week. One will be in-depth on a particular topic, and then one will be a follow-up to either reinforce or expand on the topic. I'll show the topics covered on the next slide, but they're interactive sessions with experts. Some will be on sector-specific topics, and some will be on business topics. There'll be plenty of opportunity to share knowledge with other cohort members. We also have 3 in-person events. These will be with speakers with a chance to network and build relationships, include site visits, and they'll usually be around a specific theme. We'll just have an opportunity to go into a lot more depth. Each company will have a mentor, and these are experts in the sector who will help you to develop your strategies and growth plans, make introductions, and so on. There's also a stipend of £2,000 available towards the cost of participating, which can also be helpful. Overall, you'll see there is some time commitment for this, but I have to say the previous participants found they got a lot out of the sessions and the group interactions, and we'll see how well they did in a moment as a result of the last Accelerator. Can I have the next slide, please? So here's a bit of an overview of topics we'll cover in the Accelerator. I won't go through all of it. There's a lot of information here, but you can see the purple boxes are the 3 in-person events. So we'll have one at the start, one in the middle, one at the end. There'll be mentoring throughout the programme, and the blue and green boxes are the virtual workshops. So some of the sorts of subjects that we cover will be sort of sector knowledge, such as the evolution of clean heat technologies. We'll do business topics like customer profiling, marketing topics such as digital marketing, procurement framework, strategic sales, growing your team, IP, financial management, IT, systems for growth, and so on. And then the orange boxes, just to highlight those, indicating viewpoints. So that's where we gather feedback from the cohort during the programme and after the programme to look at the impact. So, yeah, sort of check on how the cohort's doing as a result of the Accelerator. Can I have the next slide, please? So in terms of timelines, applications close at the end of May, and James will give more detail on that in a moment. The launch event for the Accelerator will be on either the 26th or the 27th of June. 27th looking more likely now, but we will confirm that soon. There'll be a chance to have meetings with the mentors in the following week, and then virtual sessions start on the week commencing the 8th of July. And then they run through with some breakpoints until the 11th of November, with a final event around the 18th of November. Then there's the feedback and the monitoring, and that's a sort of quarterly survey, which we ask participants to feedback on how their business is progressing over that following year, so that Scottish Enterprise can evaluate the impact of the Accelerator. Can I have the next slide, please? So a quick look at the previous cohort. We had a good mix of technology developers and service providers, such as installers, contractors, and consultants, which made for really interesting discussions and also, as you heard, ongoing partnerships. The next slide. We were really pleased with the impact and outcomes of the previous Clean Heat Accelerator. It was a great success. Here's some of what participants said. Almost everyone said they'd made valuable connections, likely to secure new customers. And we've also seen a 60% average increase in sales across the cohort in the first few months after the end of the Accelerator. And you can see some of the nice quotes also on this slide. The next slide. And they also said they developed their skills, they were likely to grow faster, achieve new sales, and grow their team. So hopefully that gives you a bit of a flavour of the programme, what's involved, and what you're likely to get out of it. I'm now going to hand over to James, who will run through the application and selection process, after which we'll hear from another of our previous participants.
Thank you, Natalie. So my role today is to run through the application and selection process. Hopefully operate the slides. As we've mentioned, the deadline for the applications is midday on the 31st of May 2024. So you have about a month and a week in order to get the applications submitted. The little screenshot on the right-hand side of the slide just gives you a sense for what the Google form application form looks like. It's designed to be easy to use and not too difficult to complete. So we have, for example, word limits of 500 words for each of the 4 questions. So it's not a massive undertaking. We then have, following the 31st of May deadline, a 2-week period for review and assessment of the applications, and we intend to notify you of the outcome on the 14th of June. As Natalie said, the Accelerator launches on the 26th, or more probably the 27th, with the first in-person event, and the workshops on the 8th of July. All of the guidance notes, some frequently asked questions, a Word version of the application form for you to use in drafting your response, and a link to the application portal is all available on the website for the programme, which is se.carbonlimitingtechnologies.com, or you can do a Google search for Clean Heat Accelerator. I believe Scottish Enterprise comes up first, but the website with the guidance is the second result that you get from Google. All of this is set out in detail in the application, but I'm going to run through now the different eligibility criteria. We've got some sectoral eligibility criteria. Effectively, that the companies involved must be involved in clean heat. So this includes all of the different technologies that Neil talked about, all of the different stages in the supply chain. The critical thing is that there must be a carbon reduction that comes from the technology or service that you provide. So you must contribute to the clean heat. Also, Scottish Enterprise are particularly looking for businesses that have both the potential and the ambition to grow in the clean heat area. So it's not enough just to carry on at the same size as you are. We're particularly interested in businesses that are going to realise the growth and help address the challenge of clean heat. There are some technical eligibility criteria. The programme is open to SMEs, small and medium-sized enterprises, and we expect there'll be a focus on small and potentially start-up businesses. You need to be registered and in active operation, so actually trading, and you can either be registered or at least have a material operational base within Scotland, so employing staff within Scotland. The support received is a subsidy under the UK subsidy control rules, so you do need to be able to receive it, and we check that in the application form. And we're also checking that there are no links to Russia or Russian nationals. The form itself is a Google form, which means it will save the progress that you make in it, so you can come back to it. It's got 3 sections. First one that deals with eligibility, general information on the business. The second is the 4 assessment questions, each of which are scored out of 10 and then weighted, which I'll come on to in a moment. And you have a maximum of 500 words for each question. Section 3 just covers the final questions. I've got a slide on those in a minute, and then a submit button. So very, very straightforward. The 4 questions that we ask and full details are available in the guidance notes. A description of your business, where are you at the moment? It's weighted at 20%. The commercial proposition for the elements of your business that relate to clean heat, that's at 25% weighting. Your ambition and growth potential over the next 3 years, that's weighted at 30%. So you can see the area that is particularly key for participants in the programme. And how you believe the programme will help your business. What is it you think you will be able to get out of the Accelerator? Final questions allow you to upload additional documents. There's the obligatory privacy notice to accept, and several information questions which do not affect the scoring. Again, full details are in the guidance notes. Following submission and close of the competition on the 31st of May at midday, all of the applications will be scored by 3 assessors. Following that scoring, there'll be a review process, and up to 15 businesses will be invited to join the cohort to provide a balanced portfolio of businesses. As I say, we'll notify you on the 14th of June. We then have a week to run through the participation agreement. This is the agreement that covers the sort of expectations that we have for things like attendance, confidentiality, that sort of thing. Effectively, it sets the groundworks for how the cohort will operate. And then the programme kicks off 26th or 27th of June. That was everything that I was going to say, a whistle-stop tour, as I say, so please do go to the website and download the guidance notes for full details. Now we have our second participant from the previous cohort, Andy McCahey from Source Thermal, so I'll hand over to you.
Hi everyone, thanks James. Yeah, I really enjoyed it was rebranded, but the Green Heat Accelerator when me and Stuart did it. It was a very good experience, and at the time, the reason I joined was there was started a consultancy, and the plan was to take a consultancy and develop an engineering workshop for R&D around heat pumps and just grow the team and grow the projects. And it was creating a network. And for me anyway, I had a good background in engineering and heat pumps, but zero clue about business and marketing. I still keep the head quite low and just work off word of mouth. But networking, finance management, these kind of things were crucial that I learned. Really good. The mentorship for me stood out. Richard was a mentor of mine, and he came up with two kind of phrases he would say was fill the hopper, which was essentially getting projects that are constantly coming through to keep your cash flow positive. And gearing, he said, so gearing here, like if you have a network and you reach out to one person, it gives you another 10 contacts. So in practical terms, I did get a very good work opportunity through, it was at the Scottish Enterprise headquarters. It was the Green Heat Hub workshop. It was one of those I joined, and I ended up meeting one of the guys at University of Glasgow, and I was consulting with them for a year doing heat pump development, and now we're decided to spin a company out in collaboration with each other. And that's and on top of that, Stuart and I, who spoke earlier, we both worked on that project together, and there's lead on for that. So the heat pump connects to solar thermal, and then we got another set of funding for a heat pump solar thermal based system. So it really was worth the time putting in. Everybody involved was wonderful. I thought CLT did an amazing job of putting in so much effort and getting speakers and putting the workshops together. And Scottish Enterprise hosted it very well, and I was pleased with the whole experience, to be honest. And yeah, you do have to put quite a bit of time, like, during the weeks. So would be prepared for that, but you do get a lot of very valuable information back. So I would be happy to be knowing this group of people in the future. I think it's a very good community.
Fantastic. No, thank you very much, Andy. Really appreciate you joining us today and giving you your experience on the accelerator, and afterwards just that focus on the network and how it's, I suppose, opened a couple of doors for you. But no, thank you very much for joining us. I think we'll come to Q&A now. If anyone's got any questions, we should hopefully have enough experience and knowledge on the call here to answer them. If we don't, we can take questions offline if needed. But I'll just open the floor now to everyone in the call. if you just want to raise your hand, if you want to ask out loud or put something in the chat, we'll address it as they come in. But yeah, over to you.
We obviously did a very good job, didn't we?
Either no one wants to be the first one, or there aren't any questions. So happy to field any questions afterwards. We've just had one through in the chat from Alistair. Where do the in-person events take place? So these are still being confirmed. So we don't have a confirmed location for those at the moment, but they are in facilities or locations that have association with clean heat in some way or another. So, for example, last time we went over to the BEST facility in Hamilton, just outside of Glasgow. So it will be similar types of venues, and most of them we're looking at will be in the central belt, just for ease of access through public transport. But that will be confirmed as we progress through into the accelerator itself. And a question in from Alan: can we get more information on the group, and how do we join? Alan, just so I can check, when you ask for information on the group, do you mean the group that will be attending the accelerator, the cohort themselves, or the previous cohort, or the hosts themselves? If you're asking about the group, that will be confirmed once we've gone through the assessment process and selected the cohort. I think that will be shared at the start there. And we'll also be working on an alumni event to allow the current cohort that's being selected to meet up with members of the previous cohort that are interested in that kind of wider networking. So that will come through the accelerator. And how do we join? That's I'm guessing you're asking about how we join that alumni event. It would be through the accelerator itself, through the application portal. Okay, next question from Richard: can different specialist individuals attend events, or is it really designed for the same person or continuity? Thanks. Richard, it depends on the nature of the question. If your company is in the accelerator, then we're happy for multiple members of the company to come and join, or even to join throughout the course of the accelerator on the calls. It doesn't have to be the same person every time. But if you're talking about individuals that are outside of the accelerator, unless we've invited them in specifically as speakers or sectoral experts, I'm afraid they wouldn't be able to join the events.
And I just to add to that, we did have that with the last accelerator. So where there were participants that had bigger business, slightly larger business, a few people in their business, they might send their finance person to the finance session, or marketing person to the marketing session. So it's certainly fine to have that, the different specialists going to different sessions, if that's the right way for that business to get the support.
Yeah, thanks, Natalie. All right. Do we have? Sorry, another comment from Alan. Happy to be a host facility if that helps. We've hosted for Scottish Engineering, who are a member of as well. Thank you very much, Alan. We'll take a note of that, as it does help to have hosts that are keen and interested in being part of the accelerator. Said, how many companies do you expect to apply? It's probably one of the more difficult questions. We would hope that we've got 15 strong applications is really our target to have a full cohort going in this time round, but beyond that, I think we'd be happy with with 15, 20 applications would be an excellent result. But I think it's too early for us to tell how many we expect to apply at this point.
I mean, I do have to say we have already got applications, so interestingly, so it may be that we expect slightly more this time because it's the first time it's less known. This time I think there's more just awareness of the accelerator in the sector.
I think we had 15 last time. Correct me if I'm wrong. It could have been that we had 14 last time, but around there.
Yeah, I think we had just over the 15 last time. Can't remember exactly how many, but just over.
All right. Do we have any other questions? Possibly coming in from Kenneth.
So that's great to have deep retrofit. Scotch Enterprise is very interested in deep retrofit. Comment on that.
Yeah, I think that's one of the benefits of the accelerator is we are able to support quite a broad range of companies in clean heat. We're not aiming for specific areas such as heat pumps. So yeah, great to have interest from kind of deep retrofit and geothermal, solar PV, the whole range. So thanks, Nick. Kenneth, is there a policy on handling and discussion of commercially sensitive information? Only share as much as you're happy to, I guess. I'll hand this over to Natalie and James, who I think will be able to answer that.
James, do you want to answer this in terms of the contractual side of it when joining the accelerator?
Yes, that's right. I mean, this is covered within the participation agreement. As I said, that sets the groundwork, or the ground rules even, for how the cohort will work. So yes, absolutely only share as much as you're happy to, but the participation agreement will set out confidentiality requirements. So, the discussions that you have are supposed to stay within the cohort. They are not to be shared more widely, because you're highly likely to be discussing things that are to some extent commercially sensitive. So, I mean, the answer is that yes, there is a policy that everybody signs up to, but also there's the limit to share whatever it is you are comfortable sharing. So there's no pressure to share information that you're not comfortable sharing within the cohort.
We should also note that the two sides of the accelerator, you've got the cohort itself meeting with your fellow companies, but you've also got the mentors where you may feel more comfortable sharing commercially sensitive information with them, as it's a one-to-one with CLT mentors who will help you develop an action plan kind of around that information.
With CLT obviously under confidentiality agreements.
Yeah. No worries, thanks, Kenneth. All right, any other questions just at the moment? As I said, we're more than happy to field questions after the call. We've got 5 weeks until the end of the recruitment, so a little bit of time. And I'm sure that there is contact information on the webpage itself. The recording will be uploaded there over the next few days for anyone that wants to go back and catch anything that they might have missed the first time round. And James, did you note that the slide deck will also be going up there? Will that be a separate link for people to be able to review kind of independently?
We can put the slide deck up separately because we're recording. It will be an integral part of the recording, but I can't see any problem with putting it up separately.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful, even if it just means that people can go back and look at some of the details from Neil, for example, at the start around the context. But no, thank you all very much for joining us this morning. Good to see so much interest at this early stage, and hope that this has given you a little bit more information than you had before, a little bit more context around the accelerator itself. Hope to be seeing some of you soon on the accelerator when it kicks off. Thank you all very much, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you very much.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.